Hi, welcome to Lone Raven 907. I've gotten more than one question about which of these battle rifles I prefer out of the ones that I own. So I figured I'd do a video, break down which ones I like the most, why I prefer them, pros and cons of each one, and just take you guys along for it. Do a little bit of shooting and give you a breakdown of why my thoughts are for each of these guns the way that they are. I'm going to be using PMC X-Tac 147 grain 7.62 by 51 for this. Reason I chose this ammo is because it's relatively inexpensive. It's very high quality. I've had great luck with all my guns using it, so it's pretty consistent, fairly accurate for what it is. So to start this off, we're going to go down the table. So first one is going to be the DS Arms FAL. So this is the Rhodesian painted model folder. This has got the 18-inch barrel on it, iron sights. Initial impressions of this gun have been pretty good. This is the newest one, the one I have the least amount of rounds downrange on. So far, it's done pretty well. Accuracy on this has been the least impressive out of the three, by quite a bit. So I zeroed this in at 50 meters. At 50 meters, I was getting roughly a fist-sized group out of this with the iron sights. Could have been me, but I think that was a pretty good representation of what this gun is capable of at that distance. Of the three rifles, I think that this one has the least impressive sight picture. My theory on why this thing is not as accurate as the other ones isn't necessarily the gun isn't capable of better accuracy. It's that the rear sight is on a separate receiver assembly than the front sight. And I think there's just a slight amount of play in this. It's not really perceivable, but my theory is that when the gun is firing, that this is moving just enough to throw the sights off enough. The accuracy that I was achieving out of this was with the lead sled, so that kind of took as much of the me out of the situation as possible. Reliability, I think, is going to be just as good as these other two on the table, but I need to get the gas system dialed in first. So it is cool that you do have an adjustable gas system. So out of the three rifles on here, you can really tune the load to this gun, which is a benefit of the FAL over these two. FAL wins out on the gas system out of the three. It's got the most adjustment. I think once I figure out how to use this a little bit better, it's going to be pretty useful. As far as the stocks go, so this has a folding stock on it. It is very solid lockup. It is very much so a pain in the ass to get folded and unfolded compared to the other two. Obviously there's no folding stock on the Tavor 7. We do have a collapsible stock on the PTR, which is very simple to use. It is a very comfortable stock when it is set in place. It is rock solid. There is no play in that at all. The length of pull is a little bit long on the FAL for me. I would prefer for this to be slightly shorter, but it's not a huge problem. The same thing could pretty much be said about the PTR as well. The PTR has got a pretty long length of pull on it. Weight on this guy is probably the best out of the three. I think perceived weight, how this feels and how this balances, for me personally, this feels the lightest weight. This does not feel in my hands like a 308. This feels more like a rifle that would be in 5.56 or 7.62 by 39, comparable to those. With a full loaded mag in it, a little different, obviously. That 308 is going to add some weight to it. But for right now, this has been pretty good, pretty ergonomic, feels pretty good in the shoulder. Grip angle is a little bit extreme on this one, but it doesn't bug me too much. Trigger on this rifle is the worst of the three by far. The trigger leaves a lot to be desired. It's pretty heavy compared to these other two. It's usable, but I think that's also something that was contributing to the poor accuracy on this gun compared to these two rifles on the table, is this one just doesn't have the trigger pull that the other two have. So that's kind of a negative on mark on this one. As far as looks go, I mean, this thing just looks awesome. It's a really hard choice for me on these three because I like the way all of them look, but I think my top choice is going to be narrowed down to either the FAL or the PTR. Charging handle on this is in a really nice location. So we have charging handle on the left hand side, easy to manipulate with the left side. You have a bolt lock on here that you can easily manipulate to lock your bolt open. Magazine release is the paddle style, easy to manipulate. Your safety lever, it's kind of a long reach for me, so I got to kind of break my firing grip to sweep that on and off. But it's not terrible. It's definitely not as nice as like an AR-15, but it is positive and it is reachable, at least for my hands. The PTR 91, on the other hand, I had to add on a extended release. So this is a Magpul extended release lever. I could not reach that very well with my thumb without really having to break grip on this with the factory selector lever. But with this extended one, easy to get to, no problems, positive. So just the difference between this and the FAL. All right, next up we got the Tavor 7. This, out of the 3 guns on the table, is the most modern, and it's a hard toss-up, but I think this one's my favorite of the 3. The trigger is really good on this. I wasn't expecting much out of a bullpup, but this really surprised me. The trigger is quite decent. The control layout is very, very intuitive. Safety selector, super easy to reach, really positive. It just feels good overall. Grip's a little slim, but it doesn't bother me in the least. It feels good in the hand. The magazine release is ambidextrous along with the safety lever. It does not get in the way of my opposite side of my hand. Some ambi safeties tend to dig into my knuckles or into the side of my fingers when I manipulate them. This one, I don't really notice it. Mag release is very positive. Big, easy to manipulate. You got the left-hand side charging handle, which is very easy to manipulate. I'm right-handed, so for me, having it on the left side right there is a great location for it. The handguard is aftermarket. The muzzle device I have on this is aftermarket, so it's a little different configuration than what it comes out of the box, but good to go. The gas system on it has the suppress setting as well as the non-suppress setting. So you get a couple settings on this to be able to adjust the gas system. Not quite as adjustable as the FAL, but still something. I think for running suppressors, that's going to come in handy. I have yet to put a suppressor on this rifle. Weight on this, it is heavy. It's a .308 battle rifle, but the balance of it is so well in the hand that it does not feel very heavy at all. For me, for example, I've taken a few shooting courses to where there are certain drills that you might run to where you're going to be holding a rifle on target for a long stretch of time. When you have something that's really front heavy, it's really fatiguing on your arms. For something like this, the weight is really all in the rear. It is very easy to hold this up. There's not much weight on the support hand, and you could hold it in this position, in my opinion, for far longer than you could a conventional platform. One of these rifles doing the same thing would be much more difficult to do. You have the top rail on this, so mounting optics is very easy. The control layout's great on this. Accuracy has been very good on this rifle too, so it has surprised me in every way so far. Like, I'm very impressed with it, very happy with it. Short, compact package, good gun. Like, definitely out of the 3 on the table, this is probably the one that I would go with in most situations personally. Another benefit of the Tavor is magazines. It uses the AR-10 pattern magazine, so P-mags work for it, cheap, easy to find, reliable. So you can get good mags for it just about anywhere, fairly easy. Next on the table, we have the PTR 91. So this is based off of the G3 platform, so this is a little more old school. But also a really awesome gun. I added on the collapsing stock onto this. I mean, you could put on fixed stock, whatever else you'd like, but it can shrink down to a very compact package. When the stock is collapsed out, it is very stable. Not the most comfortable, least comfortable of the 3 with this stock on it, but it does keep it really compact, which I like. So for me, this is a good way to go for my purposes. But the stock is very rigid. You can get a pretty good purchase on it. Not the most comfortable cheek weld, but it does the job. Setting this up for optics, there are quite a few companies out there now that are making mounts for these types of rifles. Factory irons on this gun are actually very good. Of the 3 on the table, this has the best iron sights. The Tavor did not come with iron sights. The FAL's iron sights are so-so. This one has very nice iron sights. You got good adjustability in them, very good sight picture. Happy with that. Super reliable. I haven't had any issues with this or with the Tavor in terms of malfunctions that I can think of in any way. Magazines for this rifle are very cheap, pretty easy to come by as of right now, and also very reliable. So really good mags, easy to come by, not super expensive. The plus side to this rifle, I have not tested steel cased ammo in these two yet, but this thing has had no problem running Wolf steel cased ammo. So if you can find cheaper ammo, my PTR, sample size of 1, has done a really good job at burning through that steel case stuff. Accuracy wise, it's a pretty good toss up between this and the Tavor, but this is a very accurate rifle. So I would lean towards this is probably the most accurate rifle on the table. Ergonomics on this gun, not the best. Mag release on this one, I do not have the paddle mag release, which would be helpful on this. I'm stuck with the side button, which is too far away for my finger to reach without breaking a firing grip. So when I'm doing mag changes, I'm either going to have to come up with a thumb, come up with a middle finger to push it, or come in with a separate hand to manipulate that. It's a little bit slower. Trigger on this is decent. It's definitely much better than the FAL. The Tavor has the best trigger out of the three. Modularity, I mean, this has a lot of aftermarket stuff that you can put on it, different handguards, different fire control groups, different buffers, stocks, and they're all really easy to switch out on this. It's just a series of pins that need to be pushed to swap out the components. So it's pretty quick, easy to do. So if you want to upgrade this thing, Tavor is very modular. There's a lot of stuff out on the aftermarket for it. And same thing with the FAL. Of the three, the FAL will probably be the one that's the most expensive to upgrade. But they're all fairly comparable, and I might be wrong on that, but that's just what I've seen off of my research. All right, last up is the FAL magazine. Out of the three rifles, these are the most expensive, the hardest to find. And from what I've been reading, these can be pretty finicky with reliability too. So that's going to be a downside, kind of a mark against the FAL, is these are not cheap, and they're not super easy to find right now. I know DS Arms makes a like a plastic version similar to like a PMag. I have yet to try those. This is, to my understanding, a surplus magazine that they've painted. But this magazine seems to run pretty good. It is the hardest to load out of the three, slightly. They're all about the same, but this one has kind of particular about the angle when you're loading them in from what I've seen. So a little different. These two definitely have an edge on the magazine. So what we're going to do now is just kind of give you guys a demonstration of how these operate. I'm going to load up, and we're going to put a magazine on target from each of these rifles, and we'll see from offhand at this distance what kind of groups we get from rifle to rifle. And I'll talk to you about what I notice between each gun, my observations as I'm shooting. Now, obviously, this is pretty close distance, so we're not going to have like a long range comparison, at least not in this video right now, but this will be more of a handling characteristics type opinion, and you'll also get to see if any of these have any malfunctions or anything like that along the way. Start off with the FAL. All right, so first off, I mean, zero jams. I can tell you that the rounds that impacted outside of the main group were me throwing those rounds on those shots. So let's go ahead and walk down range, and we'll take a little look at what the target looks like. I will say again, very comfortable, pretty soft shooting for 7.62 by 51. Overall, it's fun. I like it. trying out the Tavor 7. Now I do understand these two rifles are going to have an optic, which means they're going to have an advantage over the FAL for accuracy. But that's just the way these two are set up. In the future, I might get an optic set up for the FAL, and we might revisit that. But for right now, I'm just going off of what we have. There we go. Alright, so after firing these back to back, definitely more recoil with this rifle versus the FAL, like noticeably more. With the optic, way quicker on target, easier. But yeah, let's go down and check out, see how we did. Next up, we have the PTR 91. All right, so initial impressions on that. This one's pretty quick on target with that optic. The misses were totally me, not the rifle. I think I was anticipating the recoil. Recoil on this pretty similar to the Tavor 7. Trigger, not bad. But let's go down and check out the target. Accuracy is definitely there for this. This one is going to be my go-to still. Just best layout, best balance in my opinion. I'll take the little bit of recoil over the FAL for the bonuses of this gun with the compact package, better trigger. I still really like the PTR quite a bit. As you guys can see, the accuracy is definitely there with this, and the misses are contributed to me, not the gun on that. I'm shaky, I'm rushing shots, like I'm definitely not the best shooter out there. But in terms of how I shoot these guns, this one feels really good to me. It does feel a little bit long in the hand, but when it's shouldered, the way that optic lines up is just, it's great. Like, I really like this rifle. The FAL, fun to shoot. The lightest recoiling of the three. I think, like, I enjoy shooting iron sights, so for me, I think this is probably the most fun one to shoot on the table out of the three, for me personally. And the most pleasant shooting out of the three. But in terms of practical application, I mean, I guess it's all up to what you want to use them for, but this one's probably the least useful for my purposes. I like the compact package of the Tavor 7. I really like the accuracy out of this rifle, and just, it's super reliable, eats everything. And it is actually very compact too, with the stock collapsed on it. So if you look at that in comparison to the Tavor, still longer, but not by a whole lot. This has got a 18-inch barrel. This one has the 16 and a half inch barrel. So this has got the 18-inch barrel. This can also be folded up very short. I'm going to make myself look like an idiot trying to fold it because, there we go, got it first try. Folding mechanism on this is really stiff and a little more complicated than that one. But as far as how compact it is with the stock folded compared to the PTR, pretty similar size. PTR is still a little longer, so the FAL would win out over the PTR on being compact, and then the FAL in comparison to Tavor 7 when folded, still longer, not quite as long as a PTR. So kind of the middle ground on that. It's got the cool carry handle, which I like. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the 3. So if anybody has any questions, wants to ask anything else, wants to see anything else out of these videos, I'll bring them out again and we can take them out and shoot them. Maybe do some distance or something, whatever you guys like. But as far as like distance goes and 100-yard groups that I have shot with these rifles in the past, these two pretty close together on grouping. I think this one wins out. FAL's going to come in last on accuracy. So, and FAL also is going to come in last on reliability. So far, might be a user error on that. So it might be just I don't have the gas system dialed in. But these ones were good to go straight out of the box. I will note too, I picked this rifle up used. So I have no idea how many rounds were through this gun prior to me getting it. And it has been phenomenal. So accuracy is still there after the ammo I've put through it on top of whoever the previous owner was on this. So this thing's doing a great job. This one is still a pretty low round count at this point, so still learning it. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know.